Oh, good morning. It's Keith Hayes. And when I was in radio in Canada, we used to have a mad Irishman who did a talk show, Dave Abbott. Legend in his own time. Became a Hall of Famer and all the rest of the accolades that they give to people who are good at what they do. But Dave would reach a Friday exhausted from the topics that he had to cover over the week with his daily phone-in program. And he would simply say in a resigned sort of way, we'll have a mixed bag today. Well, we're going to have a mixed bag here because the stalwart, Philip Meredith, who's taking a few days off, I've stepped into the breach. I haven't a clue what I'm doing. I haven't a clue who's going to join me, if anybody. Not a dicky word. And as a consequence, I'm gazing into a huge void of nothingness, hoping like hell that there is somebody around who would appear on screen with me. I've got lots of choices, send out lots of invitations, but whether anybody will actually reply to them or react to them, I have no idea whatsoever. None at all. So I'm going to get cracking because the first one I'm going to try is John Henty at 9 o'clock. John is always good value for money. And I'll tell you one thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a quick look to see. Yes, because this is going to be the theme of my morning. So I'll do it. There you go. Beat Parkinson's. Well, there's a lot written about Parkinson's, but the official stuff is never that positive. It looks as if it's going to be some time before a real attempt is made on, oh, look who's here. I said I wondered who was going to wander in this morning, but it was a mixed bag. And who's here? Come on, let's see your face.
Oh, me?
Yeah. You're live, my boy. You're live. Yeah.
Well, I know I'm alive.
Right, come on, pull up. Oh. How are you?
Yeah, not bad.
Now, I have to tell you, I thought I was a workaholic, but this one, he's up at 6, does work for the television station, comes down, makes sure that I haven't fallen flat on my face.
Of course.
Makes sure I've got a television set, and then buggers off to Hove. He puts in a full day's work, and comes back, he makes sure that I'm still standing on my 2 feet.
Yeah.
Doesn't fix my television, but what the hell? And
how you can't have everything.
And you can't have everything. And then off he goes and does more work for people.
Well, of course.
Exactly. Oh, right, and that's 7 days a week.
And then went for a beer last night with my mate.
There you see, he considers that work.
Well, It's always work. Always.
It's good to see you, my boy.
Yeah.
Good to see you. Towards the end of the morning, I'm going to attempt to get hold of dear friend Abby
Oh,
to
right.
introduce her to the folks. And in between time, if anybody's guess, I'm going to try all sorts of people throughout the morning. But if not,
Right.
what I was just doing was I was just showing people what the theme of this morning is going to be, and that is get Parkinson's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's a good theme.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. Now, I have to tell you, these libs here has enthusiastically grabbed my idea for racing with the Escalado
Yeah.
lot, and it's now turning it into a massive Olympics. So,
yeah, that's the plan.
yeah, so we're having a good time. And this morning, when I first woke up, I scanned eBay to see what there was there. See whether we can get some Scalextrics.
Hot Wheels.
And Hot Wheels, yes, Hot Wheels, that's right. I couldn't remember the name.
Hot Wheels.
Yeah. So we'll be all right, won't we?
Oh, yeah, we will. Yeah,
We will.
it'll be fine.
Yeah.
It'll all come together.
Yeah. He always has the most delightful ladies, by the way. He sort of says, oh, I got so-and-so. And she's very good. And she comes on and she's gorgeous.
Emma, yeah, is a really nice girl.
Emma and the wine lady.
Yeah. Zoe's lovely, actually.
Yeah, there you go.
Zoe is lovely.
And there's one other that's lurking somewhere, I think, isn't there?
Abigail?
Well, Abigail we know about, yeah. Abigail I've known for quite some time.
Yeah, I know.
She's lovely too.
Yeah.
They're all balls of fire.
Oh, yeah, there is.
Yeah.
There is. There's Dinah.
Dinah, right, yes.
Dinah.
Right.
Yeah.
There we
And
go.
of course, you've got Patricia, which will be on next Friday.
That's right. Is what we've got to make sure is that our diary stays up to date. So when you come home tonight, whatever you do, come and have a beer with me.
Yeah, I will.
Make sure we've got all the names in the diary.
Yeah. But Patricia.
Very good of you.
Yeah, Patricia is nice, actually.
Oh, well, they're all nice,
Really
yeah.
is, yeah.
Yeah, oh, Emma, I thought, I had
Emma,
no
well,
idea
Emma.
what I was going to have with Emma, but
No.
she's a smashing girl, and she's going to come and do a show for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and a very nice lady she'll be. We've got to go and roust out Polly.
Oh, we
Yeah,
have.
everybody was expecting Polly Wednesday, wasn't it? Yes,
Yeah.
Wednesday. And
She didn't turn up.
she hid under the bedclothes.
Yeah. Okay, well,
But people get that way, you know.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you were a bit that way. Is,
Yeah.
oh, Jesus, what am I letting myself in for? And then once you do it, you realise what good fun it is.
Yeah.
And nobody gives a fig if you make an ass of
And by
yourself.
the way, I'm doing a Saturday morning show on the 7th of March as well.
Oh, good.
Me and Graham are going to do it. Graham wants to come on. So,
Okay.
And he's going to be here because he's giving me a hand moving after. So
Right,
we'll
what
be on
time?
for the first hour. We'll be 8 till 9.
8 till 9. As long as I know what time
Oh,
you're
yeah.
expected
I'll
to the front
I'll
door.
write it down for you. All right, I'll put it in your diary. Okay.
Yeah. And we've got... what else have we got? We've got all sorts of things. You've got all sorts of things buzzing, haven't you?
Yeah, I have, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a good man. He's a good man.
Yeah.
So watch for the sign of Teddy, because what we are working on together, the two of us, is getting a talking system for you. And strangely enough, while I was just waiting there, and before he appeared, I was thinking back to my Vancouver days when I used to work for an all-talk station, and it was fascinating because they used to do 3 hours stints at a time.
Yeah.
And I brought that back to Britain, and everybody thought I was mad. so be prepared. People will start to think we're mad, but not enough is said in this country. We've got all sorts of things that are wrong locally, and instead of accepting the fact that we can make mistakes, which is the manly thing to do, or the womanly thing to do, or the people thing to do, we hide.
Exactly. You can't hide.
No, you can't hide. And we've got to start to examine, why are we making mistakes? And if they don't get feedback, they can't react.
No, but people initially, like the governments, they haven't even got the ability to do it anyway.
Yeah.
That's the thing. You know?
I mean, we had something that I would have valued because I need it.
Yeah.
Is physio for my Parkinson's. And we got the man from the hospital, Lewis Hospital, and they are a first-class cracking crew down there. They really are.
Yeah.
And he was going to come on and show us how to do things. And somebody way up the ladder stopped it,
Yeah.
in case there was a conflict. For God's sake, there is a conflict. There's a Parkinson conflict.
Well, you should get back to him and ask him again.
Well, I think on our next session I will. We're going in 3 month stints now, so we'll get to this 3 months.
Yeah.
With you and I fighting Parkinson's.
Yeah.
Okay, away you go.
Right.
Good to see you.
Yeah, and you, mate.
We'll see you later.
Yeah, you will. Right. Meanwhile, let's have a look while I'm here.
See, you can't stay away. Right. I started on that theme, so I'll continue. The fact is that I had an appointment with the local surgery. I can't get to the surgery. I can get my scooter down to the surgery, but I can't get it back. So, a home visit was arranged. The doctor concerned was ill, couldn't show. They let me know, but then said they'd be back in touch. Haven't heard a dicky bird. And in the meantime, I fell. So an ambulance crew turned up, and they did what the doctor should be doing, work me over. They sent a report down to the surgery. No acknowledgement, no nothing. I was beginning to think kindly of the doctor's surgery here. But if they can't actually fulfill a simple thing like that, one has to ask, what the hell's going wrong? Next, I can't get down to my dentist. I haven't had my teeth looked at in a year. And those people who have watched me over a period of a year can see that they're deteriorating badly. This is in the Uckfield Hospital. So if you think that the smaller communities are any better, forget it. I was referred by my own dentist to this NHS dental hospital. After a while, and it was a while, an appointment was made, which was summarily cancelled by the head doctor. No explanation whatsoever. Now, these people are not fit for purpose. They should resign and go down to the labour exchange and find a job that suits them, because these jobs do not. They are supposed to be caring for people such as me. Supposed to be. But they're not. I've got carers coming in. With the exception of one, they're all pretty routine. And the thing that is common to them all is the important thing to them is to send a report back to the head office via the phone. I could be lying on the floor dying. The only important thing is for them to send a report back. They're not fit for purpose. I mean, Boris Johnson said, right through our British society of governance, and for that matter, action, we have a system in place that is not fit for purpose. He's not talking about the systems. He was talking about the people who populate these things. They don't know how to handle it. They don't know what their purpose is. They are next to useless. And it's time that somebody owned up to it and said, yes, let's start a review, let's start a look. That's where we need to look. Not on whether we rip up the rule book. Oh, we might have to rip up the rule book when it comes to the bean counters and the administrators. Yes, I admit there. But the rest that's not fit for purpose isn't about the system, it's about the people. And those people above them are trying desperately to push square pegs into round holes. And they're not going to be able to do it. They can't do it. So if you hear me or anybody else on this station criticizing the NHS, that's what it's all about. It's not the system. It's the fact that we keep on shoving people in who are not fit for purpose. Luckily, there are jewels in the crown, such as the Lewis Victoria Hospital, the rehab centre, where 80% of the people are fit for purpose. Very fit for purpose. And what do? They try to hide them, try to keep them away from the media. It just shows the stupidity that is prevalent in our society and in our governance. Bloody well start to think about these things. Think about the end purpose, not whether you can increase your salary, not whether you can get a job in the next pay scale, but whether in fact you are contributing to something that is fit for purpose. Fit for purpose. Fit for purpose. Let it ring. Now, I'm going to try and get hold of John Hensey if I can. Where do I do this? There. Is it? Yes, it is. Huh. Let's have a look here. There we are. We found it. Well, let's see if that works. I don't know whether John is expecting a note, a link, as we call it, or not. But anyway, one has gone to him. And in the meantime, I'm going to play this to you again, so you know what the theme of today is. There we go. Now that little promo, or whatever you want to call it, has an important message. I write frequently for an app called Nextdoor, and my theme is always beat Parkinson's. And I get a lot of reaction from people saying my dad's got Parkinson's, or my husband's got Parkinson's, or whatever, or a relative, or a friend, and that what you say lends them a certain amount of hope, a certain amount of courage. Well, I have got Parkinson's pretty damn badly. Believe me. I have difficulty standing, I have difficulty getting up. Once I'm up, I have difficulty staying up. I could end up spending the entire day on my back. But I argue that what we have to do is to laugh this bloody disease to death. Laugh it away. Because there is no other cure. Not at the moment. They work very hard. Stem cell research and treatment claims a certain amount of success. But then so does Irish dancing, believe it or not. Bizarre. And I'm sure that they all have a little niggle, or a little nibble. Huh. But there's nothing that can actually cure the damn thing. Not at the moment. And so my answer is laugh at it. Make yourself feel good. Use the time that you're awake and on your feet to good use. Because there's nothing like the feeling of achievement. And if laughing is an achievement, then so be it. Got quite a reflection on the screen there, but I'm going to live with it, so I hope you will. Incidentally, I mentioned that Terry and I are developing a form of Olympics. Well, unlike the BBC, We can't send off a team of hundreds and thousands to the actual games, winter or summer. So what we decided to do is to hold our own Olympics with games, tabletop games that utilize models and little figures and little cars and that sort of thing. So we've got a pretty extensive list of games that give us something to work on. And Escalado is one of them. Escalado is a horse race game. It was invented somewhere around 1932. Has little model horses with jockeys. A strip, you can vaguely see them in the background. A strip of some sort of material to replicate a race course. You turn a handle on a little box. It makes the, there, where are we? It makes, you see, talking about Parkinson's. It makes the race course, the material vibrate, and the little horses go along and they race one another. And it's clever enough so that no two results are the same. So you can safely have a race, and particularly if you have 5 at a time, because we've got now 20 horses in our stable, 19 actually, because one has got a broken leg. But we're not going to have him put down. No, 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 no. Because we're going to televise these things, what we're doing is we're using him for close-ups. So that we can edit inserts into the face of one of these horses as it gallops along the Calico racetrack. We've got a NASCAR set with 2 cars. We haven't tried that yet. We're going to. And we're keeping an eye open on eBay to see if we can get Scalextrics and get a Formula 1 set. Doesn't have to be a Formula 1 set, but it would be nice, wouldn't it? So that we can have Formula 1 races, Subbuteo soccer. I doubt if we can have a proper game, but we can certainly have a shootout. And then there are 1 or 2 other little things. For instance, we very much want to include the Sussex game of toads, little metal discs that you try to pitch into the hole of a desk. We want to no, we haven't got any sign of Henty. We want to perhaps get something like shove halfpenny into the frame. But anyway, it's going to be unusual, and if we're clever enough with our camera work, be intriguing enough for you to watch. We won't beat you to death with it. Just half an hour, steady as she goes. And That's the way we intend to tackle sport. You won't get much value out of it in terms of who's at the top of the football league, or what the latest cricket match score is, the test score is. But you might get a little bit of a giggle on the way there. And why not? The point really is that the more you can giggle, the more you can beat Parkinson's. Oh, hang on. We've got somebody here. John Hensey.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, John Hensey.
Good morning, Keith.
How are you?
I'm okay, Keith. I'm still here, which is the main thing.
You're a delight to see. Whenever I want to talk about somebody who's creative and has hung on to that to a dear old age, because you are almost 70, are you not, John?
Funnily enough, I'm about to have an improved hearing aid within the next 2 weeks. So bear that in mind, Lord Keith, because
yes, I will.
I'm not hearing things particularly well. And equally, I need to say this morning, for other reasons, I had a rather hectic day yesterday, so I need to be fairly brief.
People don't understand exhaustion, do they, at our age? I mean, you're a bit older than I am, but I'm old enough. And I must confess, it's a morning's work. The afternoon, I'm useless.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah.
So
but bring us up to date with the wonderful things that you do, because you're just about to launch another book.
Yes, thank you for mentioning that. And there is a lot of interest, happily. As I may have mentioned, it's about my early experience with the BBC in Brighton at a time when there was no local radio, and I was taken on board by the management, Bob Gunnell, and joined others in what was an experiment which proved successful, but now sadly is under pressure because whole range of reasons, but local radio is not what it was.
Yeah, I think it's a pity. It is very interesting, John. Perhaps this will give you some hope for a change of heart, because Our Lady in New York, Suzanne Mouchot, who appears on our program weekly when the technology doesn't let us down, she's a mover and shaker. She's an architect, but very well placed in New York. And she was at a party the other night with Tom Cruise and Tom Bracco, who you will recall being an anchor of an important news program in the States during the 70s. And they both started a chat and very politely said, and so Suzanne, what are you doing? And she said, well, I'm involved with this crazy British television operation. And she described us. And they said, stick with it. In our opinion, already there are signs in the States of audiences starting to switch back to this sort of television, because it is intimate in a way that Netflix and so on and so forth isn't. And they predict, if not a huge comeback, a very healthy future for stations like ours. So I hope that will give you some feeling of being worthwhile, a pioneer.
Well, I appreciate that. I can't say, I'd like to say that I share your optimism. I fear that I don't, for a range of reasons which we don't have time to discuss today. I think the major reason, number one reason, is that there are so many other alternatives, a whole range of different names which I'm unfamiliar with, all not necessarily doing any good, I'm afraid. If anything, causing more problems than they improve. And I won't go into examples, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Podcasts in particular, I have no time for podcasts whatsoever. There are those who say that I should, but I see no reason to, and I'm perfectly happy to have the occasional natter in this way. But at the same time, there's no doubt that people do watch a lot of podcasts, and they are very popular, which is fine if that is your interest, or you have spare time. I don't. And so my book effectively will be saying, as I have said previously, that I'm advising people to listen and not necessarily watch, because there's far too many people, probably one or two people at this very moment, passively watching, when in point of fact, there should be more participation.
Yeah.
So where there was with local radio, we would have phone-ins, we would go out with a radio car, we would invite people to walk into the studio. None of those things happens today, and I don't see it changing for a range of reasons.
No, you may be right. Although a good friend of mine, who really understands radio and television extremely well, said, as long as there's just one person listening, it's worthwhile.
That's an argument that I wouldn't argue with.
No, I'm quoting you.
Well, right. Yes. Well, by and large, that was where I represented myself in those days, and I stand by it today. Numbers don't bother me, to be perfectly honest with you, as long as there is an end purpose, which needs to be clear. My purpose with the early morning program that I did was simply to wake up a lot of rather sad people, and it would still be very successful today. Most of the major radio networks, the 1, 2s, the 3s and the 4s, they all believe that they're still doing it, but I don't entirely share that view. I think that is for a limited audience. And even though my audience was limited within the Sussex-Brighton area, it was actually a very valuable audience in terms of response and in terms of messaging, and it worked. So I was perfectly happy. If there were 10 people, fine. Although, again, to quote you or me, the most important thing really is just one other person, basically.
Yes. But I mean, actually, you think about it, John, the awareness of Max Miller would not be as high as it was if it wasn't for John Henty espousing at every opportunity the history of this very iconic comic.
Yes, that's all true. Although even that, I'm afraid, I mean, I don't wish to be gloomy. There's enough. I see the sun shining at the moment, which is more than welcome. But the basic fact is that whilst what you say is true about that man, it isn't entirely true in the city where he was born, played and died. It is still an effort to get interest there, which I won't go into detail today, but there are occasions when I've spoken to younger people, and if I refer, even on the odd occasion, there have been people. I think I mentioned someone like, it wasn't Jimmy Savile, no, but it was certainly a broadcaster, or maybe it was the actor Kenneth Williams, I can't remember, but they went completely blank. They didn't know what I was talking about. So I'm not surprised. It's a long time ago, unfortunately, but there was so much quality then, which in my view is lost now, and the number of personalities coming through are very, very limited, and yet they're all called celebrities. So,
oh yes, that word is a very misused word now. But John, I think as I cling to, not cling, but one of my beliefs is that they say statistically that there were only 400 Christians left in ancient Rome at the time that Augustus went and decided to embrace the religion to help his military exercises. So from 400 to, what is it, 400 million now, is over 2,000 years, is not a bad record. So perhaps what we can do is, we won't see it, but if we cling to it, we'll be one of the 300, 400, and it will flourish.
Well, I admire your optimism. I envy it as well. One good thing I would say about Mirador, at least nobody has mentioned the royal family thus far, and I hope they don't. Nor Mr. Epstein in America. If your American colleagues are watching, I'm completely phased out by that, as most people are. Entirely right. I've almost got an instant switch now, and I'm not alone. I've spoke to a very charming lady yesterday in Brighton, and she made this very point. She's weary of that, and equally, of course, although I won't debate this now, limited time, but she's also weary of this age, as we've said before, of the smartphone or whatever device it is. People are relating now far, far, far too much to that. And surprise, surprise, it's creating mental health problems, which they now discuss and are trying to alleviate in some way by saying, well, just before you go to bed, don't switch it on, etc., etc. Well, my advice is don't have one at all, which is actually balmy, but it's the only advice I follow, frankly.
Well, it's the only true way of avoiding it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yes,
John, before you go, because I can tell you're a bit impatient this morning, would you please bring us up throughout the summer, because of Max Miller and one or two more things, you have a very, very exciting diary of parties in the park and little get-togethers and speeches and so on and so forth. What have you got in store for us this summer?
Much of the same, because the psychology, again, relates to the importance of doing something if you're able to do something. I mean, I make that point particularly with you in mind. It's all very well saying, yes, well, why don't you get out and about and do this and that, which is a little glib in my view. A lot of people do come to these Tuesday morning gatherings in the pavilion grounds. Everybody is welcome, and a lot of the people who do arrive actually have some difficulty physically and otherwise in terms of transport, or if it is belting down rain, which it seems to do most Tuesdays at the moment, obviously standing at a bus stop where there's no shelter, getting absolutely drowned before they get into Brighton.
Yeah.
These are all problems that we try to overcome, and we're all hoping very much that, as the whole world is hoping, that springtime, at least we've got the daffodils, but let's have the warmth, let's have the sunshine, because, and this is where I may have to move on, I read somewhere the most important thing, and you've got plenty of it flooding through your window at the moment, light, outside light, even to the point of just opening the window and soaking in that light and breathing it, even if it's cold, that will give you a better start to a day.
Yes, it can indeed. It can indeed. All right, John Henty, now where are you off to this morning to have your ears pierced?
I fear very unexciting. As you know, I am in Lewes, and meet people from time to time. I have clearly I've got to go to the pharmacist, as one does regularly. And I also have to do some, I'm buying some, what am I buying? Something very exciting today. I'm suddenly latched onto mushrooms. I like mushrooms on toast. I've suddenly discovered those big round portobello mushrooms.
Yes. Oh, yes. They're marvelous.
I love those. So I'm going to buy some mushrooms. That'll be exciting. And then give thought to the book, which I'm hoping will very soon be with me. And when it is, I'll tell you all about it.
Right. Well, now, I know that you are a great supporter of the House of Friendship, halfway down School Hill, which is going through a merger at the moment with one of the age concern operations. But one of the people that is an architect of that is a lady called Polly Center. And Polly is about to join Mirador as a presenter. So if you stick your nose in, and she happens to be in the House of Friendship at the same time, say hello, because you've got something in common.
Excellent. Well, credit to the House of Friendship, credit to the Friends House here along the road from where I live. Friend is the word that I would encourage. And if you haven't got a friend, basically, if you're able to, go out and find one. I regularly, as I've said before, if there are one or two people, for whatever reason it is, if you just offer your name and say, I'm John, by the way, who are you? Very often a conversation will start. And there are some very decent people about.
Yes.
Equally, there are some very unpleasant people about. What you've got to do is go looking for the decent people and give them a chance for a little conversation, which is what we're doing at the moment.
You're very lucky. They say, hello, John. Whereas to me, all they do is they say, hello, the man in the blue hat.
Well, there's an element of that, I must admit. I normally joke. I think someone shouted at me, John Henty. And I did my usual act of pretending to look around as though there was someone else there. And yes, because of various things like Viva Lewis, Radio Brighton, just living in the town happily, one or two people identify, which is very nice indeed. So look, Keith, keep doing it. Our regards to our good friend Kevin, who no doubt is watching at the moment. I'll be in touch, Kevin. I'm going to wind up now.
Okay.
Go and buy my mushrooms.
Right. And just make sure they're not magic mushrooms.
I've heard about those. No, that I don't need.
John, if I meet you next week, which I hope I will you put out some of your little puppets? You have the most marvelous selection of puppets. Arthur Askey and Archie, educating Archie, and so on and so forth. And they really are magnificent, quite magnificent. And you don't see them very often anywhere anymore.
That's true. They're rare. They're unique. And that's what we must hope for. Anything that is unique or rare or an individual is important.
Absolutely.
The word I loathe is mass.
Oh, yes.
Mass, that he's a celebrity. No, he isn't a celebrity at all. Keith, that's it. I'm going to do my usual disappearance trick.
Okay, John.
And keep taking the tablets. Keep taking the tablets. That's the message.
Bye-bye. John Henty, an icon in Lewis.
Flying.
He's just so reflective of the Spike Milligan era, you know. Lovely, 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 lovely. Right. Okay. There we go. Well, the first one worked. John Henty worked. I'm not sure who is on the list next, if anybody. Oh, Hayes, me. And the reason for that is right at this very moment, and I did it earlier, I had a rant. And normally, once every other week at this time, I would join Philip Meredith, who is on a break at the moment, very hardworking. He's very thoughtful. And he said to me, Keith, I'd like to do a program on Parkinson's. The way I'd like to do it is to have you describe some of the things that happened to you in your Parkinson's day. Because the only way that people to understand what Parkinson's is all about, because once again, it's like a lot of things in our society. We give lip service to it. So beating Parkinson's doesn't mean things much to some people. We need to understand what it is that we're trying to beat before we actually start to embrace it and say, hey, I had a victory today. I can come on and I can say, laugh at it. And anybody who's involved with Parkinson's can say, hey, Keith, that's not a bad solution. Not a total solution, but it's just something of a solution. Hey, that's the way that we should go. But beating what? Well, let me tell you how I found out that I had got Parkinson's. After something like 47 years of a very successful marriage and a lovely wife who suited me very well, who's Canadian, who came to Northern Ireland, adapted wonderfully, came back to Britain, and once again adapted wonderfully, and became very popular in her own right in our community. And as she got older, she developed an infirmity. And one day, she was sitting in our cottage, which was on Watergate Lane, right in the heart of Lewis, a lovely little building. She began to have symptoms of the flu. And they became quite severe for a short period of time. In those days, the NHS was pretty good. The doctor came from the surgery down on Southover, Dr. Verlac, for whom, amongst everybody that's down there, I have a great deal of respect. Within 5 minutes, she had an ambulance there. She had my wife, Valerie, in the hospital in Brighton. We went in, and they said, we would like you to sign this form, which is a non-resuscitation form. In other words, if you are at death's door, it's giving permission for us to let you die. Because we don't think the quality of your life, if we resuscitated you, is really, the experience is no sort of life. And so we said, yes. Within 10 days, she was dead. Because of her popularity and the fact that my family, her family, were in Canada, in Northern Ireland, and at other points on the compass, we delayed her funeral for about a month. All throughout this time, I felt fine. No sign whatsoever of anything untoward with me. On the days preceding the funeral, my daughter was coming over from Northern Ireland, and because there were so many of them, my grandsons, people from Canada, and so on and so forth, I abandoned the cottage and left it to them, and went and stayed with very good friends. Alex and Belinda. Should I give you the last name? Perhaps not. Yeah, why not? Alex and Belinda Kirby. Who live up on King Edward Road, or thereabouts, that area. On the morning of the funeral, I left at about 5:30 in the morning to come back to the cottage. And as I walked down one of the hills, I found I couldn't stop. My brain would not stop my feet. And I rushed down the hill, out of control, got to the bottom. The world went crazy. I was dizzy, my head spinning. I collapsed to the floor. And remember, this is 5:30 in the morning. I lay there, trying to recover, and did to some extent. All the time thinking that I'd had a cold and that I'd overdosed on nasal spray. I got up, made my way back towards the cottage, and reached Lewis Old Grammar School. And the same thing happened. Eventually, at about 6:30, I managed to get back to the cottage. Muddied and blooded. And I was greeted with, where have you been? Nobody sensing that anything was wrong. And me, least of all. What the hell? I'd just been dizzy for a little while. The day of the funeral passed, with me carrying my wife's coffin, or helping to carry it. Into Mass in St. Michael's. Me giving a eulogy from the pulpit. Getting through a reception and back to Alex's that night for R&R, rest and recreation. And although I wasn't feeling that hot, there was no indication that anything was terribly wrong. But I did decide wisely to go to the doctor. And in those days, the senior chap was a man called Dr. Ross. A lovely man, a thorough man, a man who related to his patients extremely well. Uh-oh. Oh, there we go. He invited me to walk across his surgery room, then asked me to put my fingers together, like that. And in seconds said, "You've got Parkinson's. Don't worry about it. We've got drugs to fight it nowadays." That was the first time that I knew something was wrong. And that was in 2014. Since then, I've gone steadily downhill. So that now I can barely walk. I have difficulty going out. I can't stand for any length of time. To all intents and purposes, I'm a cripple. Except that I don't want to be and won't permit myself to be. And so even though it takes a long time, I drag myself from point A to point B. I've got a little motor scooter. I get onto it and away I go. That's Parkinson's. And it can be devastating. There are days when I have my moments. I never say, why has it happened to me? It's happened. What I do is I refuse to be cowed by it. I refuse to be beaten by it. I refuse to be bullied by it. And that's the best that anybody can do. It is not a disease that shows any favors to anybody. And the worst thing is in the main, we don't know why. If you've got Parkinson's, you're not hiding to nothing, except it's a real challenge to try and do it down, to try and beat it. And if we can't do it medically, which we can't, the doctors continue to fight for it medically. I'm not suggesting they're not. But we can do it psychologically. We can laugh at it. We can boo it. We can tell it to get lost. And that's the polite way of putting it. We can stand up to it. And we mustn't let it get us down. We mustn't. Now, I am a fairly social animal. And even if it's only going to the coffee shop, I'm a great fan of Nero's, or to the pub. Now, I like most of the pubs in Lewis, but my favourite, of course, is the Black Horse. It is hardly going to a cocktail party at the Palace. And I've done all that. Well, not quite. That sounds like I go into Buckingham Palace a lot. No, I don't. But I do. Have access to Clubland in London, which I enjoyed enormously, which is now denied me. But I refuse to let it totally beat me. And I've just mentioned Philip Meredith, a lovely man. And he says, Keith, pick up your bed and walk. Well, no, he doesn't quite. What he says is, come down to Littlehampton. He lives in Arundel. Come down to Littlehampton. Because there is a lovely pub. I think it's called the Riverview or the Harbour View. It's not really a pub anymore. It's a pub restaurant. But the food is excellent. The service terrific. And it says, if you can get yourself to Littlehampton Station, I will take you from there. Well, I hived off down to Lewis Station, where I spent so many hours waiting for trains and going to London and buying tickets and getting to know the staff, and they all remembered me. They made sure that from me buying a ticket to getting down, getting the scooter up a ramp onto the train, as far as Brighton, all went swimmingly. They alerted the staff at Brighton, who took me across to the platform for Littlehampton, got me onto the train, got me settled, chatted to me, and I got myself down to Littlehampton, onto the platform, and said, "Ta-ra, Philip, here I am." And he was as good as his word. And he and John Prideaux, the man who presents our artificial intelligence program, wrestled me down the road as far as the pub, where I then insisted, leave me alone, I can do this on my own. And I drove down the road on the pavement and stripped their flower boxes of every flower that they got in it. It was a massacre, absolute massacre. And in fact, at first they said, we don't want to ever see him again. Now they've taken a slightly easier point of view and said, yes, he can come to lunch, but he can't bring the scooter in. Oh dear. But anyway, I suppose that with the same sort of people in London, it's a bit more difficult to arrange. I could get to London. I could get to a venue. And of course, the law is such in the bigger cities that they must make adequate provision for people like me to gain access. I suppose I could go one step at a time. I've made it to Littlehampton. Now perhaps I can make it to London against all the odds and laughing all the way. I assure you, I have to laugh. And that it's a real laugh, it's not a hollow laugh. Parkinson's isn't there to be sneered at, to be taken by the scruff of the neck and shaken. And I intend to do it for as long as my muscles will hold out. And who knows, perhaps my perhaps I will be doing it long enough God will give me the time to be heralded as a man who knew how to defeat Parkinson's. Laugh at it. Laugh until you're silly. And there is adequate evidence to suggest that this is a weapon against disease. And strange enough, I remember seeing a movie many years ago, many years ago, of a man who was taken ill, and he had, I think it was in the days before video, he had film, books and articles and comics and all sorts of things to make him laugh. And in fact, he did clinically defeat whatever disease it was that he had. You know, I can feel the blood surging through my bones, even as I speak. There is something in it. Oh, I'm not pretending that I can get up and walk properly. But I bet you I could get up at the moment. Let me try. Aha! 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 Gosh, I'm actually getting slim. I know I'm not. It's an optical illusion brought on by the television. There we are. I've laughed us through almost 10 o'clock. And in a little while, I'm going to go and see if Rosie Hayes is around. Now, there is a heroine, if ever there was one. Rosie, a lady in a man's world, first of all. ITN. And she forged a career there. And then she went trotting around the world into Castro's Cuba, Putin's Russia, and other places where many journalists would not go. A fine lady, and now a mainstay of Mirador and owner of a video company that collects not mainstream news, some of the esoteric little things that would skip us by if it wasn't for people like Rosie. And she is joined by Melissa Conti, with whom I've had a love affair since 1990. Never a physical one, I may say, but mutual admiration. Because she again was in a man's world and was the anchor for an American program, coast to coast American program, the morning anchor called Morning Business Report. And I was the London anchor working with her. We have known one another since 1990. And it's been a wonderful relationship. I got to know her son and sometimes offered advice. I don't offer advice, but got involved with one or two things that he felt that he wanted to know should he do. And now she comes over to Lewis about once every 2 or 3 years. And we get the gang together and have a lovely time. So Rosie and Melissa, two of my favorite ladies, appear each Friday in what we used to call Jamboree. I'm not quite sure what, because it's Philip's program. I'm not sure what he calls it now, but it's a good rollicking roustabout of views and news on the international environment. And not always just about personalities, sometimes about attitudes and so on. Oh, I see what, for some reason I've hit a button. And if I'd got notes, which I don't have, we're a non-script station, I could have a teleprompter. Well, I'd be damned. This Streamyard lot are pretty clever. Pretty clever damn lot. Oh, it's 10 o'clock. I'm going to go. I'm going to summon up our Rosie and our Melissa. And it looks as if a morning that was going to be lost into the mists of time is coming alive. So, I haven't even had time for my rant yet. Not fit for purpose. They know who they are. Not fit for purpose. It's a nonsense. But let me say, the local surgery here is in my sights at the moment. And the local, not local, Uckfield Dental Hospital is in my sights. I don't know whether they're good, bad, or indifferent. But they keep on boasting that they're trying to improve the quality of life, and they do anything but, because they simply do not understand what it is that they're dealing with. Okay, I must go now, and I'll be back. I'll be back eventually, if that's all right with you. See you in a bit.